back, dudes. Today we are doing a Halloween special. And by that, I mean welcome you into my normal world, which is all about being open and available to the other side. So, today I have a special guest, as you see with me sitting here on my couch. This is my friend Kayla, and she is the most open and available person to the other side I know. So I figured, hey, who would be better to talk about the subject? So what we're going to do is we're going to have like a little Q&A. I'm going to ask her some questions that I've always wondered. She's going to tell us examples of questions that she's been asked before, of things that maybe you might have for a person that can talk to dead people. So, yeah, let's just go ahead and dive in.
Okay.
So, what's it like? What's it like being able to speak to the dead?
It's pretty neat. I like it. It's helped keep me company for a long time. I'm not someone who really likes being alone, so it's cool that I can just kind of talk to someone. It's not like that all the time necessarily. It's just, whenever I feel like it, or if there's like spiritual work I need to do.
So it's like, not like 5,000 people yelling at your face. It's like,
No.
You can filter it.
Yes.
Okay, great. So do you hear it as a voice, as if like someone's on TV saying something? Is it like, you need to go to the kitchen? Like, is it like that, or is it like more interpretive?
So the way I experience it and the way that I hear them, it's almost like my own thought in my head, but I know it's not me. And for a long time, I dismissed that. So I learned to start questioning it, like, someone speaking to me, sometimes saying that out loud, and if it's consistent, then I'm like, okay, I'm getting something.
So you get more than one hint that, okay, this is definitely an outside influence. All right, so what does it feel like physically whenever you're like at a grocery store and you feel like, the other side wants you to talk to someone? What does that feel like internally?
Usually I can feel, it's almost like feeling someone's presence in a room, right? If you're sitting at the computer
Like
and someone walks in, you don't see them, but they're there. You can feel their physical being. It's like that without the physical part. And sometimes for me, some people get different body sensations. My left arm kind of tingles, and that's how I know that someone's trying to contact me or is communicating with me.
So you're not having a stroke, you're having a psychic experience. Okay, well that's cool. Like I would imagine that would be like a lot easier to be able to, I guess, like translate with yourself and be like, oh, okay, like I have a physical feeling. I feel like, okay, I'm used to that. And like where you can like literally like log it in your files and be like, this is what normally happens.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a lot like my spidey senses are tingling.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, there's a spirit in the room.
Oh, cool. So just out of an example, like what's the weirdest thing that you've ever felt you needed to tell someone?
The weirdest thing that I felt picking up from someone, or just something personally? Most of the time, if I'm out in public, or if it's someone I don't really know, or maybe someone I see at work sometimes.
By the way, disclaimer. She also reads cards, so people come to her for the service, and also she, because she's has the ability to channel, she goes on ghost adventures. So, just to give you a little backstory. Continue. Sorry. We were talking about what was the strangest thing that anybody's ever been.
Yes, out in public, sometimes I will feel someone's loved one around them, and that's usually when I'm like, okay, it's important that I go to them and tell them something. And always ask them, hey, I do this, or I'm picking up on something. Are you open to hearing it, or is that okay with you? I always ask first. I don't want to just be like, hey, there's this dead person around you that I think's related to you that says hey and that they're all right.
Yeah.
Or that they love you.
Consent's majorly important because, could you imagine if you're just like at the mall and some random stranger walks up to you and is like, your Aunt Gertrude says she hates those shoes. Like, so you gotta like have a whole spiel of like, hi, I just wanted to let you know, hey, I have this ability, and would you be okay to hearing it? I would imagine that you would get some weird reaction. We're in the South also, just so you know, for my viewers that don't live in the South. So it's like taking a time machine, like, back to the colonial days when it comes to the mentality on anything like, otherworldly around here. So you really have to like have a buffer of, is this going to be okay for this person? So like, you may be somewhere where it's totally okay to like, oh, I'm going to go tell this person, their mom misses them. Here, not so much. So you got to be a little more, cautious. Cautious about things here than you would in any other spot, just because it's so overly. And we are in the Bible Belt, so it's like overly religious around here. And And not that that's bad, but like, hey, you gotta be a little more careful. So what else can we ask? Ooh, I've got one.
Yeah.
So do you see this physically? Like whenever you're getting a channel, you're channeling and you feel you're communicating, do you see them with your eyes?
So when I'm doing medium work, so I've seen apparitions before, but usually for me, I see it in my mind's eye, my third eye, just in my sixth sense, I get a visual, and that's how I usually receive images and stuff.
So it feels like a memory to you, like to the person that doesn't know what the third eye is. Like it feels like you're recollecting or you're thinking of that person.
It's more like someone putting their imagination in mine, so I can see something, kind of something like that.
Like it's not your memory, but it looks like a memory.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay. So you get like a visual of that in your mind, but they're not like physically, like you don't see them.
Physically, correct.
Yeah, it's like a ghostly figure in front of you.
The only time that has happened, I've seen an orb before, different things like that. Usually when you see an entity, they're manifesting. They're using so much energy that they're becoming physical, but that takes a lot.
Yeah, I would imagine that would be... And I would imagine because it takes so much energy, it would be fleeting.
Yeah.
Like, it wouldn't be like a long-ass time of like a ghost walking around your house just talking shit to you. Like, I would imagine it would be like, for just a split second, like, I had enough gumption to like make a presence and then it would just phase away, Also, I've also looked into things like places having memories. So
like the residual energy?
Yes. I've had experiences like that in certain places, like where it's not necessarily a ghost or a haunting, but a building having a memory, basically, so to speak, and you're watching it play over and over again. Like she and I used to work together, and in the building where we used to work, I actually had an experience like this. And there was like this back room area where there was like where we'd have lunches and stuff, and there was like a little desk where you'd sit and a refrigerator. Well, I walk in the back and there's an old woman standing in front of the refrigerator, and it looked just as real as you or me. And then I was like, what the shit? And it was gone. And I was like, did I just have a nervous breakdown? Like, what did I just see? Like, holy shit. And then a day later, a coworker of ours was like, I said, I'm sorry, you just asked me something, but something weird just happened to me in the bag. So I just don't know. I lost what you were saying. What were you saying to me? And I was like, wait, what just happened to you? And she was like, what? You're going to think I'm fucking crazy. And I'm like, no, girl, I'm not. What happened to you? And she's like, I saw this lady. I was like, holy shit, you saw the fucking lady. Like, I was so hyped on it. And that was Jasmine. I was like, you saw the lady.
Oh, really?
That's
so funny.
So, and then after thinking about it, like, because of how I saw it, and knowing just from what you've said and what, other people that are open to their gift have said, that wasn't a haunting. That felt like, it didn't have, like, a vibe. Like, I didn't feel like that was a person. Like, I felt it had no emotional, I felt no, I'm very empathic, so I feel like lots of emotions. I was like, I had no feeling like for that. It just looked like a memory. And then once I looked into it, places can have like the residual memory. It's like weird. That's a fun little fact about that kind of thing. But being, she's way open to it, like an open book to it. So it's like,
I didn't mean to be. I was just a little kid, and it was like, hey, you can talk to deaf people, so you do that. And I was like, what is happening?
Right. So you weren't necessarily like, didn't just make a decision one day like, hey, I'm going to be psychic, or hey, I'm going to work on this like thing. It's just something that you have. That's pretty neat. That's super cool. Also, another thing that I would wonder, like just about wondering, about dead people in general. Like I know other people are probably wondering, do they see you at all times? Like when you're like, giving your boyfriend a fucking blowjob, is your grandma standing there?
I mean, it really depends, because we're just spirits in the flesh. Most of the time, that's not what they're interested in. I've never seen that or had any spirit tell me anything like that. Usually, they're just kind of wandering around and chilling, or if, they're agitated or angry and was, if they were like that when they were alive, they're going to be like that passed over if they're still earthbound, if they haven't ascended or crossed over or anything like that. So sometimes you'll get people who are like, well, something keeps knocking this picture off the wall, and, something keeps pulling my blanket off, or is poking at me, or pulling my hair.
It could be because Aunt Gertrude just didn't like that picture.
Yeah, but it really just depends. They're not usually watching you shower or use the bathroom. They don't really care about that.
Well, it's good to know. So what else could we ask? Like, what's been asked to you is like, the most common question.
A lot of people think that there's a bunch of ghosts or spirits in cemeteries, and in graveyards, but they're not. Usually they're around their loved ones or where they remember being last or with something they're familiar with versus being at their gravesite. I've seen them there before, but it's not usually many.
So after we've crossed on, or after we've, gone to the next dimension, the spiritual realm, you're not as connected to your physical body as one would think. Like, because I think that's probably why people think that there's a lot of ghosts in a cemetery, because that's where their bodies are. I would imagine, I would imagine that you're done with your shell and you're like, thank God, my hips don't hurt anymore. Fuck that thing. That body can fuck off.
Right? Like, if I was to pass, I wouldn't go see my dog, my loved ones.
Right, yeah.
Flush the toilet a few times, freak them out.
Yeah.
It's me.
Yeah, no doubt, right? Oh, I forgot to introduce your friend.
This is Hal. I usually have him with me. I just, no particular reason other than I like him and I'm weird, so I talk to dead people. I don't know what else to tell y'all.
Well, I mean, my interpretation would be that, like, that's
like my
something that helps you channel. He gives you comfort. So
yeah, he does. He's my little friend.
Yeah.
Kind of like a little guardian.
And she pulled him out of the bag, and I was like, oh shit. My Noah friends are gonna be like, fuck yes.
Oh, I love him. He's just got good energy to him.
Hell yeah. There's some coon ass around there watching this shit going, I should go all day. That's great. So yeah, I also have heard people say crazy things like, oh, well, you're open to this, so that must mean you worship the devil, or you're evil, or whatever. Like, no, guys.
A lot of people have misconceptions because of Hollywood and the media. Like, most people's education on these type of things isn't factual, and it's very misconstrued because of things like that. They made it a way that they could sell it,
Yeah, movies are for entertainment. You know what I mean? Horror movies are horrific to scare you. Mm-hmm. They're not to give you facts.
It's more like Casper.
Yeah, probably.
A lot of friendly ghosts.
Like,
not that mean.
I mean, I'm sure, there's bad with the good, but I'm sure it's mostly just peaceful,
A lot of it is just people that need help,
So how does that come through to you? Like, do you feel overwhelming, sadness, or do you feel an overwhelming happiness?
It really depends on the mood they're in. So, someone who might have been in a wreck while they were on the way to the hospital to see a sister or family member, there's this one spirit I was speaking with, and that's what happened to her. And she was waiting for her sister because she wanted to see her. But I said, well, she's already passed, and that was a while ago. And a lot of times they don't realize that. She was like, oh, okay. And
so she was sticking around.
Because she chose to. A lot of times they're not trapped, they don't know, or they're scared, or they just need some help. We all always need some help.
I know I need help with lots of shit. So that's probably going to be me.
So it really depends. So for her, it was kind of anxious and sad and a little frustrated. I have other people that I know that are psychics and mediums, and sometimes it can be overwhelming, but usually that's when I ask them to step back or to express themselves in a different way, because it shouldn't affect me like that.
Lots of people don't realize that it's okay to go, hey guys, hold on. Mm-hmm. Or if you do have the gift that she's speaking of, then hey, calm down.
Yeah, one at a time.
You don't have to yell at me. You don't have to all talk at once. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Just different things like that. Consent and boundaries are always important, even spiritually, and it's good and important to vocalize those things.
And it's not offensive. They probably don't even know that everybody's talking at once.
Yes. Or they don't realize that we can't decipher, It's almost like, they're on that side and they only have so much education, or depending on their personal experience, they don't realize it. And it's communication between two different people. One's physical and one's non-physical. It still takes two to cooperate and to understand in a conversation.
Yeah, think about it rationally, which is how you interpret things may not be how somebody from New England interprets things, because you were raised differently. Well, imagine if you don't even have a body. Imagine if you're in a whole other plane of existence, and that you're trying to explain something, but you don't realize you're saying it 90 to nothing, and you're and you don't know, because that's how it is in your realm. You know what I mean? You don't know. So it's sometimes you just need to be explained. Just hey, whoa, bro, I don't know your accent. You need to calm down. I need a time to process this, and you'd be like, oh, okay, sorry, I'm not used to that. Like, you know, because you gotta remember, spirits used to be people, like, you know, just like me and you and her, like, you know, so sometimes you just gotta talk to people and be like, whoa, dude, like, you know, I would imagine that would be like, I myself have never had any experiences like that. I mean, I'm open to it, that would be super rad, but it's just never occurred to me personally. I think I probably block it out, like, you know, because, like, I would be like, fucking, that's too much. Like,
that's how you have to be sometimes. There's one time, it was so funny because this guy I was dating, he knew that I did this kind of work and I was open to these things, and there was an entity standing by the foot of my bed and stuff, and I could tell whoever he was trying to contact me, and he was just, you know, how you can send someone, you know, good vibes or bad energy, stuff like that. He was just aggravating me, and I sat up in the middle of our dark room and I started yelling at him. I was like, you have to stop that. You can try and talk to me in my dreams maybe if that's easier, or you gotta wait till I wake up because I physically need sleep. You have plenty of time right now. I don't know if you know that.
My shell still gets tired.
Yes. And my boyfriend just looked over at me and he was like, you're a scary medium. If I was a ghost, I wouldn't come to you. I was like, no, they just have to respect that I need sleep and I can't do that stuff all the time, and that's okay. They're not just going to disappear or go away.
Yeah. I would imagine that would be something that you would have to deal with quite a bit. Because it's not like a work day. It's not like at 8 o'clock they stop talking to you.
Yeah.
I would imagine it would be like, whoa. So how did your family take it? Were they as accepting of it as you are, or?
Yeah, definitely about the spirit stuff. I actually grew up in a house that was haunted. There was a younger girl and an older gentleman. And a lot of the females from my mother's side of the family are just very connected and very in tune. So it was normal to have dreams or to see things. My mom sees entities as well. She used to see them a lot more when she was younger. She's told me stories. So I, luckily, was someone who's been like this since I was little. Had the privilege of having a family that taught me not to be scared, to tell them to go away, that if they were bothering me that I could come to her to tell them to go away or to, you know, ease up a little bit. Because sometimes she would be like, okay, I'll tell them to go away, but if you want them to come back, don't come crying.
That's such a mom thing to say.
Yeah.
What about such a not mom topic?
But they've always been very supportive.
Well, that's great.
Yeah, so luckily I've had that. A lot of people that are more in touch with this don't have that experience, and sometimes they're scared out of it or just get shut off because of personal bad experiences or, you know, religious background and things like that.
I can imagine that would be a large hurdle to jump if in fact that, you know, you somehow overcame the fear of being able to have that particular gift or being open to that gift, and then you're like, okay, if I tell my mom this, then she's going to throw holy water in my face and tell me I'm going to hell, quote unquote. I would imagine that would be difficult.
I just have a mental disorder or personality disorder when it's really something beyond a physical ailment.
Don't shove Halidol down my throat because I can see that pimple. Like, calm down. I mean, and that's another thing, like, you know, people now, especially in this day and age, are so quick to diagnose. Like, you know, they're so quick to go, oh, well, this isn't something that's natural, or this isn't something that happens in our life, like as humans, then, oh, turns out your kid needs drugs. Oh, turns out your kid's fucking crazy, or, oh, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, Jesus, man, like, talk about,
that brings me to another point. So I personally believe, you know, what I do, everyone's capable of. I believe we're all six sensory people, and that's one of our senses that we don't really appreciate or are aware of or talk about, but I feel like as the years go by, people are starting to become more aware of it, especially with things that we're able to prove scientifically that people have been talking about for a long time anyways, because they were in tune. It's just that it's something that you can work on and you're capable of as well. And a lot of people get scared, or a lot of people are like, well, someone thinks I'm schizophrenic, and it's not that. Schizophrenia, if you know anything about psychology, that experience is very different versus a psychic or medium experience or spiritual experience. That is, it's very negative, it's antagonizing, it's confusing, it's very exhausting for people who go through that and have that sort of disorder.
From what she's told me, like, because I've asked her, like, before we started recording, like, oh, tell me what it feels like, what it sounds like. And, I've also had these questions about, mental disorders. So I've done things like the schizophrenia simulation, where you put on the headphones and what it feels like to have all the voices talking to you in your head, and what they usually say, on, personal accounts from, that psychiatrists have told, oh, this is what my clients, I'll say this, or they blah, blah, blah. And it's horrible. It's horrifying. It sounds like a million people whispering in your ear to do bad things, like, hit yourself, and like a repeat of like some painful, horrible situation, and you're like, holy shit, that's god awful. And how she has like said that, the communication with the other side is nothing like that. It's more like a feeling and a vision.
It's a totally different experience in general too. It's very uplifting for me. It's work I enjoy. A lot of good comes out of it. I've seen angelic and demonic things. I've seen a lot of light, and I've seen some dark. I'm not going to say, well, this isn't a thing or that doesn't exist. It's only good. You can't have one without the other. But there's definitely a lot. I've seen so many beautiful things. Another question I get asked a lot is, well, isn't it sad? I'm like, no, it's beautiful to know that they're only physically gone. They're not energetically gone. We have their memories. We have all these other things, they visit us, they let us know that we're loved.
I would imagine that people would associate speaking to dead people with having to be surrounded by death. And I don't think that is something that is the case. But that's what people are going to think, because they think of, oh, they're dead, so it must feel like death all the time. But no.
I experienced a lot of love from it, because, it's almost like I'm social services for spirits.
That's so cute.
So I'm just, here to listen to them and help them. A lot of it is like therapy for dead people, or, having a
and that would feel super gratifying,
understanding.
like emotionally to me, if I could do that for them.
Yeah, so it's a beautiful thing. I see people get reunited. I don't know if the movie Ghost is actually a great reference.
Really? That's awesome.
The way that the guy in the subway tells, I forget the character's name, but Patrick Swayze, how to move things, how to manifest his energy.
Like how his energy
is very accurate.
Yes. Cool.
The way when he passes over, when he crosses that light, I've seen that. It's not always like that. You don't always see a staircase or clouds. It's different for everyone. It's your version of what, that heaven is, or that.
And it's not your interpretation, it's the dead person's
interpretation. Yes, it's theirs. And sometimes I have the privilege of seeing it,
That would be so crazy.
I've seen family members gather. I've seen a dog. I've seen pets come through to get their people. All kinds of things. There's one spirit I was speaking to. He was a younger boy. He was an orphan in a Catholic nunnery, and he was scared because he didn't think anyone was waiting for him. And he wasn't sure that he was able to make it. He didn't know if he was allowed to go to the light because of what he was taught and not being told otherwise and stuff. So he was around for a little bit because of that, and it was beautiful because I'm trying to remember who came for him. It was his grandmother, I think, was waiting for him.
That he had never met?
Mm-hmm.
Aw, that's rad.
And I told him, like, yeah, it's okay and you're safe, and there's definitely someone waiting for you. Nobody's ever alone, and like, if this has taught me anything, is that we're not alone and that we're worthy, and there's a lot of love in the world.
And like, I think that's another thing that people shouldn't be scared of. Mm-hmm. Like, embrace that, man. Like, that kicks ass. Like, like, just knowing that when you're talking to yourself, you're not talking to yourself. You're talking to all kinds of things. And that's totally badass, yeah.
Past pets, random people who are bored and just hanging out in your room because they're dead, and they're like, you're cool.
Yeah, you're cool, whatever, let's hang out with her. Like that's
alright,
so
awesome. If you're not intruding or being negative, then they're allowed around me. Because sometimes people will also ask, were they talking to you all the time? Do you have one that hangs around you all the time? Most of the time they don't do that with me.
There's no repeat guests?
No, sometimes I'll have visitors. Sometimes, it's so weird to say this, but I know a lot of my friends' dead family members, and I almost feel like I've met them physically, even though most of them I've never met physically at all, and the only way I've met them is through doing a reading with them or something. And, sometimes they'll visit, or sometimes they'll be like, hey, let this person know I love them, and I'll tell them, if I'm comfortable and I know there's someone accepting of that, I'll be like, hey, don't forget they're around, they love you, and they want you to know.
Aww.
So I'll do different things like that sometimes, just whatever comes to me. like I said, there's a lot of good. A lot of times when people are scared, it's because they don't understand it, or they don't have a proper or authentic perspective of it. Everybody has, Hollywood, the media, stuff like that. People who share bad experiences,
negative connotations,
which are valid and happen, but there's a lot of good.
And that's another thing. Just as humans, we tend to do with literally everything, whether it's our daily lives or a relationship with a guy or a girl, or a relationship with just humans in general. It's the human nature to see the bad before you see the good, and or amplify that more than the good because you don't like it. So I think people like to do that with all things, especially with anything that they feel uncomfortable with, like ghosts or speaking to things that aren't in the norm. So that's going to be like, oh, well, this horrible thing happened to me when I was 3, so I'm going to remember that for the rest of my life, and now everything's horrible. Like, no, it turns out you've grown up, and that was scary for you because you didn't know what was going on and you were 3. Like, lots of people don't let go of things like that because it's the human nature to find the negative in it before they find a positive. And you, as a growing human, need to realize that that's part of your journey in life, is to see the good, in things, even though there will be bad. I mean, that's just how it is. There's always going to be good with bad, and both sides of the spectrum. So, yeah, it's a bummer that, so-and-so died, but hey, now they're living, life on another realm, like in another way, or in another dimension, or whatever, like, so you gotta think of it positively, not, be so, and I don't want to be a bitch about it, but not be so fucking selfish, like, why did they do this to me?
And grieving's totally normal.
Yeah, that's great.
That's fine. It's okay to be sad because it is still a physical loss, but it's also beautiful, There's no more stress or pain. They're able to be and do whatever they want, look however they want. I've seen so much.
Don't feel sorry for them,
That's what hurts them, is when people are in pain and they miss them. That makes them sad too.
It makes them totally sad. Can you imagine? And you couldn't do shit about it. That'd be horrible. Like as a person, just like I can think of like, oh my god, like how that would hurt me if like I passed away like in some unexpected way or whatever, and then I would see my mom or my dad like in constant sadness.
Yeah.
Like, oh my god,
and
that'd be horrible.
Difference between, staying in that and grieving and
correct.
feeling sad,
Grieving
which is
totally
valid
natural
and fine, and they understand that. I'm not saying that I died and you're sad. How dare you?
Yeah,
not that.
no, not that.
I know somebody's gonna be like, wait a minute, that's not nice. Well, that's not what I'm saying.
That's not what we're saying. But
But to constantly dread, to hold on to that's not what they want us to do. They want us to flourish and to move on and to feel loved and to know that they're around, or they watch over us, or peek in sometimes.
That's super rad. That's a good point. So when going to, like, for instance, when you ghost hunt, and you go to certain places, do you ever have a feeling of, okay, this is gonna be a good night, like I feel like I'm gonna get some vibes, or do you ever have a feling like, sorry guys, I'm not going in this house?
Usually what it is for me, I like to just have no expectations. Usually, sometimes one of the other people I work with, or both of them, sometimes they'll get things before we go on a investigation or go help someone. Most
or
of the
like
time
stories about a location or whatever?
Most of the time, I guess my spirit guide is like, we'll wait till you get there and then you'll see. I'm like, all right, I'm down with it, I just love to expect nothing because there's so many different things that go on. I've experienced, like, almost every house or business I've been in, it's been something different.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Also, ghosts like to hang out at bars, so if y'all want to buy them a shot or like a glass of wine, they really appreciate that.
Oh, that rules. I would imagine because there's so much fun and happiness going on there. It'd be a rad place to just chill.
Yeah. Which reminds me, I did an investigation with my team. We went and did it, and it was awesome, and it's going to be on TV.
Oh!
Local News 24. Let's see. Halloween night at 10 p.m. That's
okay,
when
awesome. She also has a website, and we'll put the link below so that way you guys can check out all of her ghostly adventures and all kinds of fun stuff like that. And later on, after the Q&A, she's going to do a reading for me.
Yes.
So what kind of reading are you going to do today?
I'm going to do a Psy-card reading. So they're not tarot cards, they're Psy-cards. They're made for psychics. I don't have a book with it or anything. So usually what I ask my sitter or my client is to think of a question between 1 to 3 questions. It doesn't have to be yes or no.
Okay, so what kind of reading are you going to do today for me?
So it's not tarot cards. I work with Psy-cards. They're made for psychics. So all the readings I do are intuitively. Usually I don't do just 3 or a certain amount. It's whatever I'm told to take out or I'm drawn to take out intuitively. Typically I let my sitter or client know to pick a question between 1 or 3 questions.
Does it need to be like an open-ended question, like yes or no, or does it need to be...
It doesn't have to be yes or no. It can be kind of general. It can be like, you know, asking for insight or guidance on a situation or a decision you're wanting to make.
But it's not future telling. You can't be like, am I going to win the lottery?
No. I don't tell people's futures. I'm not a fortune teller. What it is mainly insight and guidance. A lot of times it's things you already know, or it helps you realize something that has been in front of your face that you haven't been looking at for whatever reason, or you know, sometimes you don't see things that are in plain sight.
Or you just need a little extra... Yep, that's right. You should go with that.
I also let my clients know you get what you need, not what you want. So even if you pick a question and the cards don't answer your question, but they might focus on something else that is a priority in your life or something else you need to focus on, but you're distracted with maybe the thing you're asking a question on, stuff like that. And, you know, if it doesn't resonate with you at all, whatever it is, maybe this isn't the way of knowing. You know, maybe this isn't the time, or there's an experience you're supposed to have. So that can happen sometimes.
So there can be blockages.
And it's a lot easier for me to read somebody who wants to get a reading done and is open and comfortable. You know, if you're anxious or kind of scared, that'll kind of block up the connection. So
like hazy, you can't really get a clarity.
And that's okay, you know, and I'm always honest with my clients. I'll tell you everything I'm getting. I'll let you know if I'm not getting anything. You know, sometimes, you know, I don't have them tell me their question, but if they feel like they need to share some stuff with me, sometimes that does help me understand a little more, get a clearer connection, because you're verbally and physically opening up, and that can help with the connection as well.
I would imagine that any sort of expression of, you know, a story or anything like that would help with an emotional connection, so that way that would make the path clearer to things that were being interpreted. That makes perfect sense. Okay, well, cool. Well, awesome. Okay, so I guess this is where we'll end the Q&A. Also, remember, it's not like she's not my friend. So if you have any questions that you want to ask Miss Kayla here, we're going to be doing other videos and other fun stuff. So if you have questions, then we can always, you know, ask her those questions. So please drop a line below and let us know anything you want to ask her. Like, hey, what's it feel like, you know, to blah, blah, blah. Like, whatever you guys want to know, ask her, and we will definitely answer your question the next time we make a video. So hang tight with us, and now we're going to start the reading. Woo. Hey guys, okay, we're sitting down, and she's got everything set up. This little notepad here is a little piece of paper, and I'm going to ask a question, or 3 questions. Should I do 1 or 3?
That's up to you. Whatever you feel like you need to ask cards, anything you feel like you can get insight from them, just go ahead and write it down. Okay, and at the end of the reading, can I let you and everybody know what my question is, or do I need to keep that private? Yeah, keep it private. I'll let you know when I want to know what the question is.
Okay, so I'm going to write my question down on my piece of paper, and I'm going to fold it, and I'm going to set it right here where the reading is going to be had, so that way there's a clear channel with the question. So I'm going to write my question down. Okay, I've written my question down. I'm going to fold it, boop, and just set it right in front of me.
Alright.
Okay.
Well, I've shuffled these a few times. This is also very important to know. So when I do readings, I like to let my clients know when you shuffle the cards, please don't do it like you're playing blackjack at a casino. Do not shuffle like that. Just kind of lightly slide them together, because this is going to keep them from bending and getting torn up.
You want to respect your deck?
Yes, respect the deck. Alright, now what I want you to do is just shuffle it a few times, as many times as you feel like you should, and then hand them back to me. You also put the intent of your question there, or the insight you're looking for. all juiced up with your energy? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So these aren't tarot cards, and part of what that means is there is no
Up or
upright or inverted. It's just what you see.
Okay.
So give me a second. I'm going to look over it and see what I'm drawn to. I don't read it any certain way. It's whatever that I'm drawn to first or is emphasized in a sense. Okay, so for this bottom section, what I'm being told, and some of this is kind of personal, I'm getting mood imbalances or like an emotional journey in a sense. I get the cave. So what the cave and the moon shows me, that you're in a hard place. It might be depression. It might be just seasonal depression or spills of sadness is what I'm getting, or even overwhelming emotions.
And could it be about the question?
It could be, or something else in your life you need to focus on.
Okay.
This is kind of talking to me about your mental state, and not that it's consistent, but sometimes it gets bad. Something else I'm getting is that
I'm super manic, by the way, guys.
I
So I'm either happy or I'm sad. Like there's no gray area.
So with the father, they're telling me, and it doesn't have to be your literal father or something, I'm getting more of a male energy. I know you shared some personal stuff with me before, but a lot of this is affecting your mental and emotional health. The liar is what I'm getting. It is actually the one right next to it. Is don't listen to all of these things. I don't know if you experiencing basically like being a bully to yourself, most of the things that come along with depression and having those sorts of moments or those swings. What I'm getting is in the middle of all these things, I can adjust them sometimes, this is what they're showing me, is that you have all of these issues and they do all tie together, but there is peace in these things, and you will find that. I'm getting this a lot. I feel like you've been in your head a lot recently. You've been really dogging yourself down about things not being a particular way or where you would like them to be right now. You've got to stop that if you want to find this peace.
Okay.
You've got to stop being so hard on yourself. And after everything you've been through, what I'm getting is you should be a lot nicer. Like, things are a lot better now, and you know that.
Absolutely.
This actually up here, they're telling me about your career. They're telling me union. I don't know if you're going to have a collage or you're building a relationship with something that's going to give you a sense of union. I feel like this is going to help a lot with the issues you're having over in this area. All of this connection you're making, it's positive, it feels good. Definitely trust it. You're not wrong.
All right.
It's going to bring you to a fortune. And that could be financial, emotional. Okay, they're telling financial. You want you to know it is financial, and this is work related. You're making your way there. It just feels like forever because it's just this whole spiral, you see him walking
You gotta
up.
climb the steps, yeah.
And it's all in the dark, so all you have is this light. All you have is you and your perspective and your mind and your motivation. I mean, obviously you have a support system and other people in your life, but you are your brightest light in this situation. The mother and the wheel is all together, is that you need to be more nurturing or more caring about the situation, maybe give it a little more attention, and it's gonna start going. The wheels are gonna start turning, things are really gonna start coming together. But definitely it's gonna take some time to get there, and a big part of your journey to that fortune is paying more attention and maybe devoting a little more time to whatever the thing is.
Okay.
But that is everything they're giving me.
Okay. That's good to know.
So what were your questions?
Okay, my question is super personal yet kind of vague, so you're not going to know who I'm talking about, but you'll know the question or who I asked the question about. So my question was, how can I help my dad see there's a person he trusts that's bad for him or hurting him?
because that is happening right now. And the way my particular dad is if you were to say that to him, he would tell you to fuck off, and that he's going to make his own decisions, and that, you know, your opinion, you're crazy, blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, how do I help my dad without saying I'm trying to help you? You know what I mean? And I feel that me and many other people feel that he is being led astray. Exactly.
The liar and the father. So even what you didn't verbally tell me, they already knew what you were asking. And that's why I tell people, you know, I'm just a messenger. All of this is about you. You don't have to tell me personal information. Sometimes, you know, like this, it does help make it clearer. But ultimately, I want my sitters to know that I'm genuine, and that's a big part of why I don't have them tell me their question.
Right.
And that's why I have you tell me afterwards. You'll definitely get the peace in the middle of all that. That makes a lot of sense with that emotional like pull.
And I super cocoon about it. Like, I'll just like, I'll shut it out and I'll be like, oh God.
That's what
So that's about, like, you know.
Okay.
So it's a struggle that I'm going through currently, and I want to help as much as I can, but I don't know how to help. Like, you know what I mean? So I'm like, how can I do that? Like, you know.
I feel like this is a big part of this as well, even though it talked about your career a lot. It also has a lot to do with you personally, where you're at, and ultimately, whether we realize it or not, you know, the better place we're in, the better help we are for other people as well.
Correct.
So, you know, even with this, it is something that's going to take some time. This isn't something that
nothing's instantaneous.
Well, I mean, you never know, sometimes. But yeah, this is definitely a work in progress. I would definitely keep note of this for after the holidays as well. I feel like things will be a lot easier then. I feel like something big's going to happen in late November or around December. But definitely pay attention to all that and be an ear for him, because I think that he needs that. You know, there's not much. You can't make anyone, you can't control people, but you can definitely be there for them and support them. And that's what love is, and that's what ultimately caring for someone is.
Is being, you know, the support when they need it.
If that's his journey and he's got to learn a different way, then so be it. But the biggest thing is to know that, well, this person was still there for me, even though I did this and that. You know what I mean?
Well, that's good to know. I feel better about that.
So it resonated with you?
Yes, that was nice.
Awesome.
Thank you for that reading.
Thanks for letting me read your cards and everything. You know, because, you know, consent, all that's important. That helps me a lot in the reading be much more clear. And it's a experience that I want everyone to enjoy when they get a reading done, you know. There's no reason not to. And I tell people, at times people get scared, or they'll see cards like the Liar or Death and they get scared, and it's not
could be
scary.
Like hypothetical, like, you know what I mean, like
death is the
like
end.
Situational of that, like it may be the death of that horrible situation,
or bad habit, like the end of an illness,
and
the beginning of something else.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, interpretation is so important when it comes to reading cards, because
also my readings aren't ever going to be scary or like negative, because, you know, energy work. What I put out is love and light and positivity. So what I'm going to get back, you know, is going to be the same thing. And even with working with my guides or spirits, and, you know, sometimes they come through or help me, or people's spirit guides will speak to me when I'm reading their cards. But it's all going to be good stuff.
Well, that's awesome. Thanks, Kayla, for this amazing read. And the next time Kayla comes over and does her awesome stuff with us, it's going to be, we're probably going to put some different stuff in there, so we're going to do some more fun stuff, and it shouldn't be that too far away, so please stay tuned. And always remember, down at the bottom will be the link to her website, showing you all the fun stuff she does and on her ghost adventures. So please subscribe to everything she does, and see you next time next week. Peace.